The information provided on this show does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all information on this show is for general informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for legal advice, and we recommend viewers consult an attorney for specific legal matters.
Welcome to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Yep, it is Sunday at 11 a.m. I'm Karen Curtis. Attorney Eric Glazer is with me. And we are on the air because of our wonderful sponsors. We have so many that have been with us for over the 15 years that we've been on the radio and on our YouTube channel. And of course, we love our fantastic Best Services, our diamond sponsor, Best Roofing, who gives us the best services. And I just want to remind you that Eric is board certified by the Florida Bar. There's like a handful of attorneys that are actually in plan development law, and also he has a law firm here in Hollywood and another one in Orlando. And we'd like to get the phone lines going early. I know we do have a state representative on there that's ready to talk to us about something we talked about last week, but we also would like to hear from you. And the number to call, 717-GLAZER-8. That's 717-452-9378. And of course, you can ask us a question in the chat box as well if you like.
Yeah, and as we say each week, good morning, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to two things. Of course, the YouTube channel, Condo Craze and HOAs YouTube channel, where you don't have to just watch the show live. You can watch any one of the shows that we have in our extensive library now at your convenience, anytime you want. And of course, make sure to join our email list. We have like 20,000 people on there that get announcements about this show each week. Not just announcements about the show, but who the guests are, updates on the law, when our seminars are going to be, copies of our newsletters, and a whole lot more. Just go to Condo Craze and HOAs to join up. And of course, you can watch us on any of the social networks as well.
Of course. You're going to talk about your blog, though. Okay, later. Sorry. We are on TikTok, Facebook, Apple, no, not TikTok, Spotify, and on X. Sorry, I got to get rid of that.
And we do a blog every single Monday morning at condocrazeandhoas.com. Okay, sometimes we have topics on the show that are a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
And I like to start the show by saying, okay, you got to pretend like you're in law school today. Today is one of those days, okay? Why? Because we have a very, very important case that came out of the Florida 3rd District Court of Appeal within the last 2 weeks. And believe me, it's a topic that we really need to talk about. The 3rd District Court of Appeal handles appeals from Dade and Monroe counties, right? So as we do in law school, like it would be like, okay, Mr. Glazer, tell us the facts, right? So
the mens rea.
Here's the facts. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready.
So we have a unit owner, Angelica Avila, and several owners at the Biscayne 21 condo. They didn't take the money. And I think, Rob, you're putting up a picture of that condo as we speak, right? They didn't take the money. Instead, the owners, they voted against selling their condominium units to a developer by the name of TRD Biscayne. And that developer was attempting to buy enough units to terminate the condo. Why? Because they would want to knock it down and redevelop and resell the property.
Right.
Listen, not only have we talked about it, it's going to be a hot topic in the future.
Right.
Okay, but these specific owners said, we're not selling. Okay? Now, what's important to know? The declaration of condominium required the unanimous assent of all the owners in order to terminate the condominium.
Did the developer know that?
Probably should have known it.
Yes.
Right? Should have known.
Because of game over.
Absolutely. You would think game over, right?
Right.
But the association acting on behalf of the developer and now the owner of most of the units at the time, they didn't take no for an answer. So what did the association do? Instead, the association amended the declaration of condominium to change the unanimity requirement.
Because they don't need a unanimous to change the deck.
To change the deck, right. So they changed it now to say, okay, we'll go back to what the current law says. The current law says we can terminate with 80%. So even though the deck said you need 100, we could amend with 80%. We'll amend with 80%, and we'll knock the number down from unanimous to 80%.
Sounds
okay?
Kosher to me.
Is it kosher? So the unit owners filed suit, and they sought an injunction to block this change and the resulting termination.
Did those unit owners vote?
They voted against it. Yeah,
but they didn't make the threshold.
Didn't make the threshold, right? There were more than 80% of the people voted for it, right? They argued that the original declaration contained provisions requiring unanimity to terminate the condo or to amend any provision that impacts their voting rights. So important to note in this case is there was no as amended from time to time language either. So they don't automatically get to the 80% that would be in the statute today.
So the Kaufman language also governs over your docs.
Absolutely. So
what happens internally, not only the state laws, but also what changing the docs as they are today.
If there was Kaufman language, if there was, right? Okay. So then automatically the new laws that would have said, okay, you can terminate now with 80%, that would apply. That would apply,
right,
even though there was a unanimity.
But I'm just saying,
but that wasn't in there either.
Oh, but it was within the condo this time that the Kaufman would also apply. So
correct.
That's interesting.
Correct. It would have. That's right. Okay. So, could the owners get around this 100% requirement by amending the declaration, which only required 80% to amend? That was the real question. So, the court first noted that the declaration had a clause which stated that an amendment altering the voting rights of any owners of the condo shall require the approval of 100% of the owners. Anything that alters the voting rights, okay? Now, the third DCA first opined that decreasing the percentage required for termination was an amendment that impacts the voting rights of the owners, right? And therefore, unanimity was required. So that's step one. Okay, and just like is happening all over the state over time, the developer accumulated more and more units,
right,
and then when it owned enough units to amend the declaration, they voted to amend the declaration to reduce the unanimity requirement to only 80% as allowed under the current termination provision of the Condo Act. And we're going to start seeing these attempts more and more and more.
So it amended two provisions.
The declaration was amended to knock the requirement down to 80% in order to, and they did it because the deck originally only required 80% to amend. So forget the 100% unanimity. We only needed 80% to amend, so we're amending.
But what about the 100% to change the way you vote? Can they change that?
The court said no. He couldn't do that either.
And they can't change that?
You can't do that with 80%.
Okay.
The court said you couldn't do that.
But can they change that rule?
No. The court, as we'll see, the court said no, absolutely not.
All right.
So the unit owners argued that the amendment to the declaration voided their right to, in effect, veto a termination, and therefore it materially altered their voting rights, right? They had this powerful veto right to veto a termination. Well, the owners argued that that certainly materially altered our rights to a veto. Can't do that.
I have a question. Are these two unit owners that are doing this, are they paying all their legal bills by themselves?
Yes, they sure are. I know them. They sure were.
So it's not the association paying. And the developer that has big pockets, deep pockets, is
fighting it on their own. Absolutely fighting it on their own.
Amazing.
Yep. The developer claimed this was we're not doing anything to their voting rights. We're not affecting their voting rights. That's nonsense because the owners still had a right to vote. Therefore, their voting rights were not materially altered. Ridiculous argument.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, the rights were being altered. So the court held that by requiring a unanimous vote for termination, the declaration originally gave the owners this powerful veto right over any termination plan, and that would be lost if this amendment, right, were allowed to stand that knocked it down to 80%. So what happened? Case goes to the third DCA, and the third DCA rules in favor of
The developer.
The unit owners.
Oh my gosh.
Developers lost.
I can't believe that.
So the third DCA says nope.
What about the Supreme Court, though?
100% means 100%. Okay, so let's talk about the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court actually works itself into this opinion.
Sure.
Okay, and we'll figure
okay.
out why.
Okay.
So let's back up for a second. So why is this so important? Because we know it's certainly no secret that developers out there, we know they're smelling blood in the water, right?
So I just want to ask you, is Biscayne 21 condominium, did they have a large nut to pay in terms of their Sears and
absolutely.
and that's why everyone's getting out because they can't afford it?
Correct. So developers, like I was saying, the developers smell blood in the water.
So these two people can afford these reserves, apparently.
They probably can. Okay? They probably can. And maybe they don't want to sell, and maybe they love where they currently live, and maybe they bought there because they love the view and they love the building, they love their unit, and they don't want to sell. But what do developers know? Developers know that unit owners in condos, especially ones that are 30 years old, or especially ones that are on the water, what does everybody in the building have to pay for now? A phase 1 study by an architect or engineer, a phase 2 study probably, mandatory repairs for the milestone inspections in order to pass them, mandatory reserves, mandatory contribution of reserves for the structural integrity reserve study to do the reserve study, massive insurance payments.
Oh, yeah.
And what about those condos still that haven't put in their sprinklers or their
safety, life
safety, okay?
So the developer,
think of what we're talking about.
The developer buys all these units, and then these two hold out, and the developer can't knock it down and build a new one, so they're stuck.
That's correct.
And
are they stuck?
And they're going to have to pay to fix the building now.
Correct.
Which doesn't help them at all.
So the question is, can one person, if the vote requires unanimity, I think let's say you got 300 units in the condo. Think about this. 299 say, we can't afford this. Thank God there's a developer out there who wants to buy us out.
Right.
One person says, nope, I'm not selling.
So are all the other sales contingent on the Avias?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Yeah, so they can't knock it down. Right?
But they haven't actually paid and bought those units,
That's correct. Normally, it's contingent upon everybody or nobody.
But how are they able to vote if they haven't actually bought the units from everybody?
No. I'm saying the developer will put a contract out there that says, I'm willing to buy everybody's unit, but it's got to be everybody or nobody. Now, if they can't get everybody, that means, my God, everybody in the building is stuck because one person won't sell out. One person can hold up everything. Think about that.
So the unit owners that the developers were buying their units were the ones that voted for it.
They wanted to sell out, right.
Okay.
But you had those few that said, nope, I'll never sell.
Okay.
So now the developer has to walk away. Now think about that.
Yeah.
So everybody else, even though they might not be able to afford it, they're stuck paying all these costs. Now, is that fair?
Well, they can sell individually to people, but no one's going to come in and buy it.
Who's
right.
going to buy it?
Oh, my God.
So should it be fair? Some people argue, the documents are not fair. Should one or two or three people in a whole building who can afford it be able to hold up the sale for everybody else? So you mentioned the Florida Supreme Court. This gets complicated. So every once in a while, the lower courts, the appellate courts, will say, okay, there's an issue of such significance that the Court of Appeals themselves is going to kick it up to the Supreme Court themselves, even without the parties moving for it. The third DCA themselves. So
there's this needs to go further.
Exactly. So, and it's called sometimes certifying a question of great public importance to the Supreme Court. You ready?
Yeah.
So the third DCA certified the following questions of public importance to the Supreme Court. 1, may an amendment altering the voting threshold required to terminate a condominium pass without unanimous approval, where a condominium declaration both, 1, requires unanimous approval of the owners before either terminating the condo or passing any amendment to the declaration of condo, altering a unit owner's voting rights, and 2, where it lacks Kaufman language automatically incorporating relevant statutory changes into the contractual provisions. Remember, if there was Kaufman language here, the new statutes would automatically implied it would have been allowed by 80%.
Right.
Okay?
Right, but the Kaufman
language wasn't there.
How long is it going to take for the Florida Supreme Court to answer these two questions?
Okay, now I'm guessing this is going to be answered within about 9 months to a year.
For God's sakes.
That's how it's going to take how long it's going to take for the Florida Supreme Court to answer these questions. But make no mistake, the answer to these questions, because right now we even have a split between the 3rd and 4th District Courts of Appeal. This is going to have massive ramifications on hundreds, if not thousands, of condominiums throughout the state.
Right. I wonder if they're going to solve this Kaufman language situation.
It's a question that's out there.
Because it needs to be done. No one needs to do anything if you've got Kaufman, right?
That's correct. In this situation, they wouldn't have to do anything. They would have been able to use the 80%. Kaufman language wasn't there. Stuck with unanimity. Okay?
But I mean, in terms of the Sears and all of that, and
that's a different story.
I know, but I'm wondering if they're going to address that with this.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, the Kaufman situation.
Pretty big deal.
It's a very big deal. It creates a lot of confusion among even legislators. We have a legislator holding on the phone, right? I bet you the legislator who's calling in. Nobody even realizes that when they pass a law, it may not apply in the condos that they think it's applying to.
Because the number 2 question is lacks Kaufman language automatically, and you can plug in anything. So if they rule that it doesn't matter, then maybe that would be precedent for it all.
Right. Do I think they're going to do that? No.
Oh.
I don't think they're going to do that.
Because it's a contract. Because they ruled against you.
Contract. There you go. You didn't have to.
Because you lost to them.
I lost, but it was close, 7-0. So anyway, this is going to determine whether a single owner can prevent condo termination where everybody else wants out desperately.
Didn't you ever see the movie Up?
Of this.
The guy with the balloons in the house and he wouldn't sell his land?
No.
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time. People don't sell.
This is serious, and you're talking to me about Up, you know what I'm saying? but yeah.
It happens. People don't want to sell their land.
Wait for this decision.
This is
going to be a monster. Yeah. Every once in a while we get a major decision on condo law. This is going to be that decision. Okay? Complicated topic. Anybody have any questions on this or anything else? We're waiting for your call. Okay, so give us a call in the studio, 717-GLAZER-8. Again, 717-452-9378, or drop us a question or comment in the chat box on YouTube. We'll be back right after this.
There are very large management companies, and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
And welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Just kind of like bit off a large chunk of legalese there, but it was super interesting. Yeah. And we have a representative out of Miami, Fabian Basabe, on the phone, and Fabian, I know you. I spoke to you with WIOD earlier in the year, and I'm so glad that you're doing well.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Representative. How are you?
Good morning. Nice to be with you as well.
Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. How can we help?
So, I mean, I guess I'm not just here as a state representative. I'm also a condo owner, a taxpayer, a father. I'm someone who's paid 10 special assessments. I mean, I'm kind of going through what many people are going through. But I want to touch a little bit on what you just discussed, because something that got left out that nobody's mentioning, right? I mean, property rights matter, and a lot of people are saying, hey, you know, was this court ruling fair? And, you know, legally, yes. Morally and practically, it always depends on who you ask, right?
Right.
Property rights matter. Protection from forced sales. The thing that we need to consider is that these owners bought into a building under a contract that gave them a veto. I mean, that's part of what they paid for.
I agree.
So changing the rules mid-game, that's not fair either. And we don't want to set a precedent where, you know, let's say the ruling went the other way. It would send a message that developers can override individual rights with money and majority control. So it's a really, really interesting discussion. And I tell everybody, elections matter. You know, we elect our judges. You got to know who you're voting for in every election. We've got to make sure that we're really, really representing people here in their best interest. Because the original declaration, again, required 100%.
Yep.
And the developer, in all fairness, knew that when they started buying the units.
I agree with you. I will tell you that
upheld the original deal.
This Supreme Court is all for protecting contractual rights. So how do I think this case is going to go down? I think, like you just said, a contract is a contract is a contract. 100% means 100%. And I don't think that you're going to have the court allow that specific provision go down to 80%, because then the 100% provision meant nothing. It was a fake provision.
You know, a lot of people buy units, and they'll have, you know, a nephew who happens to be some kind of lawyer or not a lawyer, or just someone overlooked their documents. We need to have condo specialists really explain to people what they're buying into, because at the end of the day, they're investing in private entities. And that goes on with their HOA boards. You know, the state has had to step in tremendous ways where these are private enterprises, and it's a really difficult gray area, right? I mean, the state can't overreach into how private entities are run.
Sure.
And the people, the residents, are choosing this leadership.
I agree.
So every election, not just in your local government, state government, federal government, in your HOA board, these elections really matter.
Absolutely. Government stay out. I'm with you.
But were you aware of that when you all voted unanimously to pass the Sears and the Condo Safety Act? And were you aware of the Kaufman language?
Well, every HOA has different language, right? So
no, we're talking condos. I'm talking about condos, not HOAs.
See, okay, so let's...
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, let's backtrack.
Read the question. There was a little bit of a lag.
You know, sure thing. So it's really amazing what we have currently under condominium law. A lot of times the Florida legislature passes a new law, right? And you guys think that just because the House of Representatives pass it, just because it passes the Senate, and just because it's signed by the governor, it automatically applies in every single condominium across the state. Isn't this wonderful? And then we find out later on that, wait a minute, it only applies in maybe half the condos, because it doesn't apply in the condos that don't have language in their governing documents that incorporates future new laws. And I have to tell you that when some legislators learn it, they actually can't believe it.
Yeah.
So they're like, what are we wasting time passing laws for if it doesn't even apply in the condos that we're trying to pass it for?
Because to your point, they're an entity.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I think I'm one of the very few condo owners in the legislature.
Right.
So, and to be fair, my district has never really had proper representation in what is the supermajority until I got elected. So I've been bringing kind of my lived experience and all of the feedback I've been getting from my district, which is predominantly condominiums. And let's step back a little bit and be accountable too, because I say this often. I feel like my district is wholly responsible for the crisis that we're in. I mean, we've been deferring maintenance for decades,
Sure,
building upon failing infrastructure, trading out. And And look, a lot of people just say, hey, this is just one person's vision, one person. For me, I think this problem was man-made. I think it's intentional. I think that if you really study the players in the game at the end of the day, especially down here in South Florida, which is unique to anywhere I've ever lived, the politics, the business is really about land grab opportunities, and the developer influence and special interest influence in our local elections is just boggling. And they'll sell you these flashy, shiny politicians who are all in bed and managed by usually the same consultant who is also, and I don't know how there's not a conflict of interest, the consultant on the majority of all these overdevelopment deals. Yeah. And then there's no partnerships between the state and the local municipalities until I got elected. But nobody really wanted that state partnership, because when you partner, and let's also be real, the only thing that's going to fix our problems is huge, massive investments. And the state's ready to step in. I mean, I've never seen I've been here since 1987. We have the largest investment in resiliency, infrastructure, all this money. I brought back hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in every different silo to my district. And you wouldn't believe, don't get me wrong, I have great partnerships in the majority of cities. I have 12 entities that I represent, but I have like my one monster, right? Miami Beach, that refuses to work with me, and they make it a partisan thing. And I'm like, people are getting priced out. This is not a partisan issue. But then you think about it, they don't want to work with me because in qualifying for these state grants that will resolve their problems, they have to present the issue, how they got there, and it exposes all of the mismanagement, misappropriations of prior years of tax dollars, misspending. People have been lied to. Politics is really ugly and nasty. And at the end of the day, the properties of all these people that I've loved my entire life, my community, those for me and those against me, they still are what make me and my community what it is, right? I mean, we want that challenge. I don't want a city that I live in. I live in Miami Beach, where everyone agrees in one thing. I want that grit, that life, that spark.
So, Representative,
let me. I want to be challenged. Yeah.
Let me tell you my thoughts in that regard. You said people have been lied to. And yes, people have been lied to, but with all due respect, it's the Florida legislature who allowed the people to be lied to. And I'll tell you why. There's been, since forever, the ability of the Florida legislature to do all it can time and again and time and again and time and again for developers. Whatever a developer want, the developer got. Whatever law the developer want, the developer got. So we allowed the developers to build properties, to build condominiums, and we allowed them to put out fake budgets to the owners and tell everybody it only costs $200 a month to live here for all these great things. And you allow developers to put out budgets that did not require the mandatory funding of reserve accounts. So you allowed developers to put out budgets that were absolutely fake. You did not require the developers to say, yes, it's $200 a month for now, but in 25 years, it's going to be your share of $30 million in expenses.
Exactly.
Right?
I've got to kind of counter that a bit. But now, mind you, I'm not a professional politician. I've only been in the legislature for 3 years. I'm learning as I go here, and I've got to tell you, my colleagues and I went up there. Believe me, I went up to Tallahassee when I first got elected. I don't know if you knew much about my campaign. I wasn't establishment backed. I was a self-funded grassroots. I went up there ready to fight with everybody, and I've made some great relationships with some really good-hearted, well-intentioned people trying to make that difference. And what we've done in the last few years really has been about securing property rights, giving relief. We've given a lot of room. We've made those reforms with what limited knowledge that they had of the real problems, because South Florida is a totally different monster. Now, in South Florida, again, Miami-Dade County has home rule. Let me give you one of the biggest things pricing out people right now. While we're attacking the HOAs and the infrastructure issues and bringing insurance rates down, you got property taxes. Miami-Dade County has a formula based on contracts, federal contracts of subsidies that have already ended. The formulas are outdated, and they are literally pricing above, I think, 35% more on our assessments on property values than what they should be. And you hear a lot of people talking about property tax, ending the property tax or reform. And what we've done with the sales tax, putting money back in. And I love that everybody's talking about how to get money back in people's pockets. But let's also address the home rule issue, right? And for the most part, and you're familiar with Miami-Dade politics, I always say people don't get elected here. They get anointed.
Right.
I mean, can you believe that we haven't had 4 constitutional offices like the sheriff, the tax collector, supervisor of elections, the property appraiser? We haven't, the property appraiser has been appointed in the past, but now we have someone who's been truly elected, in my opinion. And one of the first things I see them doing, and he came to my district the other day, is we're educating people how to challenge their tax bills. And anyone listening, please, you can do this on your own. You can engage services of these property tax appraisers who will only charge you a percentage of what you are already going to lay out if they save you the money. But challenge your tax bill every year because you'll notice that you're paying more than you should be. And that's immediate relief for you today.
Yeah.
So I think what we've done in the legislature has been fair. And, there's a lot of criticism that we got saying, hey, you're making mandatory reserves. No, we're not. That's not something that takes effect tomorrow when we push that forward. We said in a year after this date of whatever your HOA rules are, people had almost 2 years to prepare a financial plan to pay into something that inevitably will need to be replaced so that we can establish ourselves again as a viable and insurable market to companies who don't want to work with us. We are not insurable. They don't want to lose and invest in us anymore with the fraud, with all that's happening. And again, the majority of it comes from South Florida, predominantly my district. And nobody wants to be held accountable or take responsibility for that. And I blame everyone who doesn't vote, and I blame people who vote instead of choosing their warriors. They vote for partisan alliances and all of that. They need to really research who is actually trying to do the humble and true service of these elected positions. Who are their consultants? Who's backing them? What's going on here? Because people are really being duped. They're focusing on national, federal issues when local government is what runs your everyday life. And with Miami-Dade having home rule, which I fully support, but like anything, when not applied correctly, it can work against you. I mean, we're supposed to know what works best in our backyards, right? I mean, who's going to know my backyard better than me? But it's insane what's happening. It's insane. And at the end of the day, when you recognize that the land, and what really gets to me is our elder community. These people have lived their whole lives. They've paid into a system. They've retired. And the only place that they know is home. They played fair. They did everything right. And now they're being told they've got to downsize, relocate. They're basically in the way because the property that they live in is worth more than their lives, than my lives. I mean, how despicable is that?
Well, there's
and
where
what's really
perhaps
upsetting.
There's where potentially you and I differ. Yes, I kind of feel bad for the position that they're in. Another part of me says these are the same people that when given the opportunity to put away some money each month towards a reserve account for decades and decades and decades said no. So now we have a building that collapsed in Surfside, and now we realized just what a bad idea it was to allow people to say no for funding reserve accounts for 10, 20, and 30 years. So now the bills come due. So with all due respect to the elderly people, I understand the position that they're in.
But they're the ones that didn't vote.
But I don't know, how bad I feel that they didn't put $1 away for sometimes 30 years in a row. It costs money to live in a building and make repairs.
Now, you said we might disagree on that. And on that point, we don't disagree. I think that people are not properly educated on what they're doing, and everybody's thinking, it's very short-sighted, right? How do I keep money in my pocket today without recognizing that later down the line it's going to cost more and have effects that you are not going to be prepared for it when that time comes. So on that point, we actually do agree. But at the same time, there's expectations and responsibilities of your local electeds to help educate people. Where we've got the DBPR, where are they an oversight? For what we've done in this past legislative session was expand that agency. I mean, have you ever tried to call the DBPR in recent years? You can't get anyone on the phone. I mean, I tried. I literally had to go knock on the door and say, hey, is anyone in this building? We've expanded that, and that takes time. I agree with that, but at the same time, working together, making sure that the formulas are applied correctly in assessing, property values so that rents aren't hiked up, because it's very hard to put money away when the cost of living is increasing exponentially. Yeah. So there's got to be a way that we can make this right, and there is with comprehensive vision. The thing is, we don't have that. Yeah. And my district has a tremendous opportunity because I have the entire Miami-Dade County coastline. Yeah. And yes, I go over the bridge from Aventura back to my shores. But on my coastal cities, if we all got together and came up with a comprehensive plan and vision to fix what we've got first, build from underground up, restore what we've got, create an insurable market, bring down cost of living, work with state, local, federal partnerships, give these right incentives for developers to come in here and partner with us the right way, not just take advantage of what you can for a 3 to 5 year flip and sell. It's crazy what I witnessed. Yeah. It's crazy.
Representative, I really appreciate your time this morning. Your heart is certainly in the right place, and I very much appreciate you sharing your thoughts with our listeners this morning and our viewers.
Especially who you represent. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You guys are great. Thank you for doing this show. Anyone, please reach out to me. Please follow me on social media. It's just my name, Fabian Basabe, too. I want to hear feedback, and please have me on again because I've got a lot more to say. I do think, as difficult as times are right now, and what I'm witnessing and the people that have been getting elected recently and the changes that we've been putting forward, there really is hope. And if we can get people inspired to get out and vote and do their civic duty and partner and engage and educate themselves, we really can start, seeing the differences that we've all been waiting for.
Thank you, Representative. You be well.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day.
You got it. All right, let's take our bottom of the hour break. Keep the calls coming in. 717-452-9378. Back right after this.
Roomkiss Consultants offer the professional expertise to help condominium and cooperative communities provide safe, compliant buildings for their tenants. We have more than 170 Florida licensed engineers and architects who are experienced with local regulations and can assist with Senate Bill 4D compliance. We can help with milestone structural inspections, capital expenditure evaluations, structural integrity reserve studies, and developer transition reports. Focusing on energy, resilience, maintainability, and sustainability, our experts can help with every phase of the building life cycle. Contact us for inspections, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or mitigation after a catastrophic event.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion, or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
Welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for Representative Fabian Basabe again. He was great.
Yes, very, very kind.
And we're taking your calls now.
Yeah, actually, just to go to one thing really, really fast, and this is from our friends at CCFJ. For those of you who live in a home, really important, maybe you want to take down the information that I'm about to give you. If you remember, we've been talking for the last couple of months about My Safe Florida Home program.
Yes.
But it eventually ran out of money. Well, guess what? Applications start tomorrow. And the Florida legislature has allocated $280 million in funding that's going to go to inspections and grants of up to $10,000 to help residents make storm-related upgrades and qualify for property insurance discounts. Now, the applications for My Safe Florida Home starts again tomorrow, August 4th. I don't have the actual website, but if you would Google just My Safe Florida Home, I'm sure you can go right to the applications page. Again, it's for up to $10,000 to make storm-related upgrades and qualify for property insurance discounts. But applications are going to be considered on a first-come, first-served basis and in order of priority.
So you can
Robert,
get
not to put you on the spot, but maybe you can find the link, the web link, and people could just like click on it.
Already did.
It's up.
Oh, you did.
It's right there. There it is. It's mysafehome.com.
Thank you.
No, mysafeflhome.com.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
So if you wanted to get,
shouldn't have even had to tell. I knew we would put it up.
storm windows,
Yes.
you could apply.
You apply, yes, and then once you do this, you're
And it
eligible
saves you
for
money.
storm-related discounts, right? But here's applications are going to be considered on a first-come, first-served basis and in order of priority. Here's how it goes: low-income homeowners, 60 or plus, they get first priority.
Good.
Then low-income homeowners, then moderate-income homeowners, age 60 plus, then moderate-income homeowners. To be eligible, the homes must be a single-family, detached residential property or a townhouse. The owner must be living there, and the home insured for $700,000 or less.
Okay.
Low-income homeowners are exempt from this requirement. The first step would be to apply for a free, no-obligation wind mitigation inspection and then apply for a wind mitigation grant. This starts tomorrow, and it's going to sell out by tomorrow. You can
Of
guarantee it.
course.
So please just go on, fill out the form,
But this isn't,
and get on top of that.
this is for homeowners, not
quickly.
condos.
This is homeowners, right? There's this whole separate condo program, but today we're talking about the home program. How about we take our first call of the day?
All right, our first caller is Helen from Miami.
How are you, Helen?
Yes, hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
From Miami Beach, and I was going to call about something else very important today, but considering the topic,
Yeah.
and that Representative Basabe is my representative here in Miami Beach, I thought I'd add to the conversation.
Sure.
I would like to give this a different angle, and that is that there have been issues with not funding reserves properly and mismanagement at many buildings, but especially here on Miami Beach, we have some prime real estate. And what has happened, and actually did happen just in June, is that a final approval for a building buyout was made, and the developer who got that approval actually built over 2.5 times as of right. So a building that was built at 150 feet, prime real estate on the water overlooking downtown Miami, was part of a bulk buyout facilitated by an attorney who had owned several units in that building.
Right.
And the developer proposed from 150 feet to go to 474 originally. He pared that down to about 330, which was ultimately approved. But what's happening, along with Live Local Act, and along with unit owners needing to sell their units because they cannot afford the special assessments, especially in these older buildings, they're being put in a position where these buyers are coming in, developers really, are coming in and overdeveloping, taking advantage of the situation. So it's not just a matter of people being bought out and, there's a holdout or two. It's a matter of now overdevelopment, especially in this prime real estate.
But it's zoned. Is it zoned for 400?
Well, let's talk about overdevelopment, okay? Sorry, Karen,
No,
I
not
didn't
at
mean to
all.
interrupt, but let's talk about overdevelopment. So I moved here, in 89, right? We're talking about 21. I can't believe I lived here 46. Did I just say that?
Yes.
I lived here over
Yes.
40 years now. Is Florida the same place as it was? I can tell you that New Yorkers, at least, didn't move here for the Florida that we currently live in right now. But I've never met a politician that won't sell out to a developer and let them build as much as they want to build. Because you build a building, and I won't even name the cities. We know where the cities are. But, hey, why not get 400 people in a building that's going to pay taxes to our municipality instead of 200, right? A lot more money to play with.
Who cares if you can't see the ocean?
Right, who cares, right? It's irrelevant at this point, right? So, but wouldn't it be better to get taxes from 400 than 200? And this goes on with every single building. You know, we wonder why in places like Miami Beach, what's going on with the flooding? What's going on with the flooding in Hollandale? What's going on with the flooding in Aventura?
Too many people.
Well, when there's no longer any pervious
right.
surface for the rain to drain into, why do you think you're having flood? It doesn't take a rocket scientist.
It's climate
to
change,
figure
Eric.
It's the fact that there's no place for rain to go. Right, they want you to believe that. But has there been overdevelopment in our communities? Yes.
But this is building up.
Should city, but you know what developers will tell you? How developers will try to scare you? And this is exactly what the phone call that we have on the line, Helen, probably has heard this argument before. Oh, well, just to let you know, we can build as wide as we want. Would you rather us build wide and really take away your ocean view? Instead, would you rather us build tall and thin? And that way we don't take away any ocean. And it's the same BS bullshit argument that you'll hear all the time from every developer and every single zoning board, every single commission allows it. Nobody changes their comprehensive plan, and they allow this building to go on unbridled for decade after decade after decade.
It reminds me of the Eden Rock Fountain Blue.
And does anybody feel that they live in the same Florida that they wanted to live in? Is this really what everybody wanted? But this is what everybody got. Because not one, and I can't think of one municipality that stood up and said, you know what, not in our municipality. We don't want the insanity. We don't want the craziness. And at least that's how I feel about it, Helen. I don't think a city commission or planning zoning board have ever met a developer that they don't like.
Could I add one thing to that?
Sure.
And pick up on what you said? In terms of height, Miami Beach now has the tallest building at 519 feet, which, by the way, was built with variances, including base streets and whatnot. So now the Live Local Act has allowed buildings to reach that height.
Sure.
And then, 150 feet used to be the norm in much of the island. So 519 feet is possible.
You know, I see.
Think about in some of the cities that are already crowded. Now you're putting up a 500-unit condominium.
And they did it with variants.
That's another 1,000 cars to the community.
Smokes.
Think about that.
Right, and there's no mass transportation going over there.
Right. Florida does not build on mass transportation, right.
But you got the bridges.
Yes, go ahead, Helen.
I'm sorry, we just have 3 points of ingress and egress.
Yeah.
3 causeways to vacate all those individuals should we be hit by a hurricane in 24 hours notice.
Yeah,
imagine.
And maybe that's why you're seeing, at least people from the Northeast, you're starting to see them moved into Boynton, Port St. Lucie, and even points north. This is not really where you see people coming down anymore. Well, maybe some, I'm not going to say none, but the hot areas right now are the places where it's not so overcrowded like it is here now. And I, for one, but not happy to see what's become of many cities in South Florida.
West Palm Beach and Palm Beach.
Yep.
The West Palm Beach, they're building some big buildings on the Intracoastal, but Palm Beach is still homes.
It's still homes, right? Got it.
Yep.
Helen, I apologize. We ran real late. We got to take our final break. Okay. Thank you so much for the phone call.
Thank you.
Keep the calls coming in. 717-452-9378. Back after this.
In South Florida, the transition from bright sunshine to heavy rain and hurricanes can take a toll on your property's exterior and structural integrity. Cracked stucco, spalled concrete, they're more than eyesores. They can signal deeper issues. Now, with new Florida laws involving structural integrity requirements, we want to help you meet your milestone inspections and maintain the durability and beauty of your building. Since 2004, PD has been the trusted expert in structural concrete restoration, painting, and waterproofing for condominiums and commercial properties. Visit pd-concrete.com or call us today.
Life is full of steps. We learn to take small steps, and big steps. We take steps toward adventure to discover what's next. At South State, helping you take each step is what inspires us to keep moving forward, so you can keep enjoying what's next in your life. This is banking at its best. This is banking forward.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
One.
All right, and we're back. Here's Skippy, the Condo Craze and HOAs mascot. We're going to take your calls. You wanted to talk about...
Yeah, really quick about mass transportation. George Mulner writes in mass transportation in Florida is turtles and ducks crossing the road, and he's almost right. With all best of luck to Brightline, I can just tell you my thoughts when it was being built, and even now. I was involved years ago, many years ago. There was a train service that was called the Florida Fun Train. And the purpose of the Florida Fun Train, some of the people out there may remember, it was designed to have an alternative route of getting to Orlando, to Disney, and you would have a game car, you would have a clown car, you would have an arcade car, you would have an eating car.
Let me guess, you were on the clown car.
And you'd have like another way of getting to Orlando.
Sure.
And a ton of investment money went into it. And to make a long story short, it didn't work. Not only didn't it work, but the depositions were kind of funny. The depositions were like, well, how many people rode the trains on this day? 6. Well, what about the next day? How many people rode the next day? 8. How about the next day? 4. And you're realizing pretty quickly, Florida is not the state for mass transportation.
Oh, Brightline's doing really well.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Florida, Brightline already just missed the bond payment.
Oh, God, I did not know that.
Yes, Brightline missed their last bond payment.
They don't miss pedestrians that often.
That I'm dumb.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
that's interesting.
From what I just read, they already missed their last bond payment. So
now what?
Mass transportation in Florida, to me, doesn't work. It's not like in New York where you get up in the morning, you can walk to the train, you can walk to the bus, and generally it's very easy to get to. Here you have to drive to the train, drive to the bus, and it's too hard to use mass transportation. And here you grow up, and at age 16, 17, you get a car. And just from the time we're 16, 17, you're used to driving.
And they don't even want to carpool. They don't even want to share their vehicles.
And you're not going to go backwards. You're not going to go from using your car to public transportation. It just doesn't work out.
I think Musk with the boring company wants to bore holes into Miami Beach so that you can...
Yes,
they did that with the truck, so then you won't have to rely on just the causeway.
Maybe that'll work, but general forms of mass transportation that we do now has not worked in Florida.
I did not know that about the Brightline.
And it will not work in Florida. Okay. Back to the phone, sir.
We're on the fun train.
Next caller is Joe. Joe, where are you calling from?
Hey, from Pompano Beach. How are you guys today?
How are you, Joe?
Good. Hey, Eric, quick question. I'm the property manager of this building in Pompano Beach. We have a Canadian investor that no matter what we do, he's Airbnb in his place. In order to Airbnb, which you can do where I work, it has to be a minimum 30 days. He's renting it out for a week, 2 weeks, 3 days, 5 days. He got a letter from the attorney. We've done everything. We've done everything, and nothing seems to work. What's your recommendation?
That's why they make courts. I mean, that's why they make judges. That's why judges are out there. If they won't understand, threatening letters, then the idea is to call his bluff. Now it's time to sue him. And when you win, you'll get an injunction against him, preventing him from doing it further. And he'll pay your attorney's fees and your court costs. So it'll be a nice, expensive lesson for him. Okay, that's what you have to do.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Quick question, because he's Canadian. Do we have to go to a Canadian court, or is it done?
No, here.
locally?
No. You don't got to go to Canadian court. He's here. By owning property here and by doing it here, he's subject to the jurisdiction of the courts here. You said,
he'll love that.
That brings him to Broward County.
He'll love that.
Okay?
And then he'll have to.
And then he'll have to get an attorney and he'll pay for yours too. Yeah.
We signed a letter of intent for an audit back in December. We still don't have our audit.
So the auditor who you hired never gave it to you?
We do not have it yet. I have a sample.
Is there a explanation from the auditor, or is he waiting for more documents?
No, he's just busy. All the documents have been provided.
There's a suggestion to start towing the Airbnb cars.
That's interesting.
Yes.
If you can.
Well, yeah, we're working on that.
He says
Absolutely.
it'll stop if you do that.
Well, might. It certainly might. It's certainly going to get the Airbnb people mad at the guy who's renting them. That's for sure.
Right. Or they'll use Uber.
That's already in the works.
You need your attorney to write a letter to your auditor saying, hey, how come we paid for the audit and it's still not done? Matter of fact, I just did that for somebody else, got them back a whole lot of money. Okay?
Now, that should have been done by April 1st, correct?
That's correct. That's exactly right. Okay? That's okay. Yeah, well, actually the end of April, April 30th. That's when it needed to be finished, completed. Okay. Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Super. Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you so much. Guys,
trains drop you off in the middle of nowhere. Are you taking Brightline down to the game? You're going to the Marlins Yankees game.
I'm going to get there and he'll be there for the first inning alive. I don't want to.
So the Marlins have won the first 2 games against the Yankees. He's a big Yankee fan.
And they're on the way to the game right now, and it starts in an hour and a half, so we're terminating 5 minutes early today. Guys, if you need legal help off the air, give Glazer and Sachs a call, 954-983-1112. Again, 954-983-1112. Everybody see and speak to you again next Sunday at 11 a.m. on Condo Craze and HOAs. Everybody have a wonderful, safe week.
Go Fish!